So Govindam Bhaja. So it's a book of conversion, as I said. The people who are generally committed to Artha and Kama. Artha is securities. Kama is various forms of pleasure. These are very natural, swabhavika pravritti. They are natural pursuits. There's nothing wrong in them. But if one has to learn from these pursuits, there should be a time in one's life. One has to discover the limitations of these pursuits. And so the limitations of these pursuits, either one naturally discovers in time, or you address the person and make him discover, help him discover, so that there can be some meaning. Because first you seek artha, after some time there is no artha in it, there is no meaning in it. First you seek securities, and afterwards you find that there is really no security in all of them. The insecure remains insecure. And so too you seek kama. That also you find you get tired in the process, you age and develop wrinkles. So the people have to, at one time or the other, discern the limitations of these pursuits and begin to search for what is it that I'm seeking. People have to question the very pursuer. What am I? Who is the one that is seeking all this? What for I'm seeking? Somebody has to, the people have to ask this question. If they don't ask the question, then here is a book that tries to convert the people to not a religion, but to a right pursuit. This conversion is not a religious conversion from one religion to another religion. This is an inner conversion. In my pursuits, what I am seeking iti. So the seeker, everyone is a seeker. The seeker gains a direction. So when you seek without direction, the seeking is called groping. But if the groping becomes seeking, when there is a direction, when there is a purpose, then there is some direction, etc. And therefore, here we have this book, Bhaja Govindam iti. So Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Samprapte sannihite kale, nahi rakshadi, dukrinj karane. The Kri Dhatu is used, Kri Dhatu, that particular sutra. Not a sutra, it is really a Dhatu. So the Dhatu Pata, that dukrinj is Karanarte, in the sense of doing, is the Kri root is used. That is the meaning. The Karane means in the sense of Karanam, in the sense of doing, is the word, the root Kri. And that's all what is said here. So that is the root is listed with its meaning. Each root, the meaning is given, and it will be in Saptami. It will be in Saptami, seventh case. In the sense of, it is used in the sense of, iti, Karane, Karanarte, Saptami, and then the Kri is the root. And so the do and the nasal sound, Nyakara, so that they are all for grammatical purposes, they are indicative letters. And therefore, they are not the part of the root. Kri is the root. So from that we understand that by saying this naturally, he is not criticizing grammar. The Bhaja Govindam, the man who wrote Bhaja Govindam, whoever wrote, that person cannot compose the verse unless he has some grammar. And therefore, so there is no question of missing the grammar. If you miss the grammar, you miss everything else. Therefore, I would say, any one grammar at least you must have. Any one language grammar must be there, unless if you want to understand Shabda and the Shabda, what you call, what exactly the meaning of the words, the sentences, etc. One must necessarily have one grammar. whether it is English language grammar or Sanskrit grammar, some grammar you must have. In Vedantic study, naturally, so it happens to be in Sanskrit. If it is taught in Sanskrit or the Sanskrit text is kept and then taught, definitely Sanskrit grammar is helpful. But that's not criticized here. Nobody criticizes grammar. Shankara would be the last person. In all his commentaries, he uses grammar. Sometimes he uses all the sutras, etc. is all grammar. So he uses grammar all the time. Why he gives this meaning? He has to give grammar all the time. And therefore, so without grammar, there is no shastric study at all. Grammar is a part of learning. Grammar is a part of learning, and therefore grammar is not criticized. But one thing I tell you, that by suppose you study grammar, that itself will not give you any what? Moksha. Mere grammar also will not give you moksha. Therefore, so you can use, grammar is a tool. Grammar itself cannot give you moksha also. And therefore, neither do we criticize grammar, nor we say that grammar is going to, we promise that grammar will give moksha. That is a delusion. Grammar will not give moksha, nor language will give moksha. Even logic will not give you moksha. But then, so that doesn't mean it is beyond logic when I say, that doesn't mean you should be illogical. Hey, illogical will not give you moksha, nor it will give you any shanti. So illogical. And therefore neither you can get anything local, nor anything great profound you can get if you are illogical. So logical thinking is important in understanding the Shastra and eliminating all doubts. And therefore, so tarka is used, logic is reasoning is used in eliminating all our samshaya, all our doubts. So atmavare mantavyaha, mananam means removal of doubt. Removal of doubt means what? Tarka. It's all pure reasoning. And therefore, because any doubt comes from wrong reasoning, and the doubt is eliminated by pointing out the wrong reasoning. And therefore, all doubts are eliminated only by reasoning. And so you cannot fight shy. And so you can't be shy of this. So studying the tarka, etc. Tarka means not pure tarka. The pure tarka is all useless. But reasoning, a capacity to reason. Pure tarka is a philosophy. And it is just idiotic philosophy. But what I say, the tarka means the reasoning capacity. The reasoning capacity to say, so that this is fallacious, it is a fallacy in reasoning. That is what is important. Kevala tarka is of no use to anybody. And it only just brings you headache, and it doesn't, or it swells the head. And you think that you are a logician, and you will end up in trouble all the time. A logician, four fellows went, these four fellows went on a pilgrimage to Kashi. And all of them were walking in those days. From South India, these four fellows went. There is a funny combination of four fellows. One fellow is a musician. Okay? He's a musician. The second fellow is an astrologer. Third fellow is a doctor, Ayurvedic doctor. The fourth fellow is a logician, Tarkika. So all the four somehow got teamed up, and they went on this pilgrimage. And then one night, of course, they reached a place where it was some old house, abandoned house. They thought here we could cook and then lie down for the night, and next day we will go. And all that they had was one vessel. And in this vessel they used to put everything and then cook and eat. So here, the Vaidya was someone who was very picky in eating. He would say, this vegetable is Vayu, this vegetable is Garam, this vegetable is Chanda. So like this, the fellow was very picky. Therefore, he was given the job of buying the vegetable. You go and buy the vegetables, okay? So if anybody bought the vegetables, they had always problems. So he said, you go and buy the vegetables. So he went there to buy vegetables. And then the other fellow was sent to go and get some rice and dal. And this fellow went another direction to get some rice and dal. And then another fellow was given. So was asked to go to this particular small village. There he will go and get some ghee. Ghee. Ghee is very important. So this khichdi, they are going to put all these vegetables and rice, dal and ghee. The whole thing. So then it is khichdi and it is wholesome food, clean food. So this is what they want. And then the Sangeetagnya, you know Sangeetagnya, the Tarkika was sent, the logician was sent to buy ghee, and the other fellow was sent for what? That the Vaidya was sent for vegetables, and who is the other one? Astrologer was sent this rice and dal, for sent rice and dal, and our Sankeetagnya said, he's a little heavy fellow, he said, I will cook, okay? He said, I will cook. So what he did, I'll keep everything ready, he said. So he waited for some time and then he lighted the fire because everybody was hungry. So he lighted the fire, he put this vessel, cleaned the vessel, and then he filled up the vessel with water, adequate water, and he was waiting for the rice, dal, everything to come. And then the water was boiling. And then what happened? So this, you know, this is a mud vessel. It's not it's a pot. It's a pot, it's a clay pot. And so, what he was doing, when this was boiling, this thing was boiling, water was boiling, what was boiling? Is boiling with certain rhythm. So the rhythm he thought, this is Adi Talam, takka, 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 takka. He was so happy that it was keeping this talam. The talam is the beat, you know that beat. So takka, 8 beats. So he thought, takka, 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 takka. And this blessed thing, it began, it changed. It changed the talam. It changed the talam. He got so angry. And then he had a big stick in his hand and bang! Fire gone. And the pot is also gone. And he didn't know how is he going to answer these fellows. 3 fellows will come and eat him up. So he was so worried. How I'm going to face the fellows because there is no second vessel available. And even to light the fire, etc. is a nuisance. So he didn't know what he was going to, how he was going to face the music. Okay? So he didn't know. So even though he's a musician, he didn't know how to face the music. But he was really worried. In the meantime, what happened? Our astrologer, who went there to bring this rice and dal, and he brought the rice and dal. And he brought the rice and dal, and as he was coming, a donkey, a mother donkey, was delivering a baby. And that is at the time, delivering a baby. When he saw the head coming, and then he said, this is the astrologer always had this problem. Because he always gets some date, some time, so which he is not able to verify. Now he saw here right away, so this donkey getting delivered, and he noted the time, and he thought, this jiva, why it became a donkey? I want to know. He sat there, and then he cast the horoscope and trying to find out the 5th house, the Purva Punya Sthanam, why exactly this became a donkey. So he was so engrossed and he was ecstatic about the whole thing that he did figure out as he was figuring out, and in fact he was very happy. Then the other fellow who bought Vaidya, he said, oh, this is Bengan. Bengan is nightshade, you know, is useless. So Bengan means this katrikai. What is that? Eggplant. Eggplant is a brinjal. So eggplant. This eggplant, the brinjal is useless, and that is useless, this is useless. All that he got was only some spinach leaves he got, some greens he got. So big bunch of greens he brought. And then when he saw this fellow ecstatic here, hey, what has happened? Hey, look, sit down. Now I tell you why this jiva became a donkey. I tell you now. So he gave him a big discourse on the whole thing, and he was also so engrossed about the whole thing. So that is true. That is how it is. And he was also happy. In the meantime, the donkey, mother donkey, was so hungry after delivery, and then it was looking for something, and it ate the whole bunch of leaves, and also the rice, dal, everything it ate up. When the whole thing was over, he said, let us go now. So there was nothing there. Even the bag it ate, you know, donkey eats bag, everything it ate. And so he didn't have neither bag, nor rice, nor dal, nor these leaves, greens, all gone. Now they thought So they were worried how they were going to face the music, they were worried. The musician, how are they going to face the musician and the music? Both had a problem. And then anyway they were slowly walking with a little dejection. And then the third fellow who brought this ghee, he brought the ghee in a paper cup. You know the paper cup, not paper cup, this is a leaf cup. Leaf cup, donnai. So donnai is a leaf cup. On a leaf cup the ghee was there. The ghee was little semi-solid it was. And now he was keeping it like this and coming. Then he had a doubt. This is called a logical doubt. The doubt was, he said, which is adhara, which is adheya. That is his problem. The adhara adheya bhava. Here, which is the basis and which is based upon what? Now because it was all windy, and in this windy time, naturally this mere, suppose if it is a simple leaf cup, it won't be there on his palm, it would fly away. So that, the cup doesn't fly away because of what? Because of ghee. Therefore ghee is the adhara, is the basis for the cup to be where it is. Therefore he thought the ghee is the basis. That is why the cup doesn't move. Therefore cup is based on ghee, he thought. Then he said, suppose the cup is not there, how can the ghee remain? So cannot remain. Therefore what happened? It has become an annonyashraya. So this the annonyashraya means what? The catch-22. So mutual dependence. The mutual dependence. He thought the cup is depending upon what? Ghee. The ghee depends upon cup. Now how to arrive at this? Which is the one that is really dependent upon the other? He wants to find out. So that is very easy to find out. You have to simply turn and see. And so he turned the cup and saw. Then afterwards he found, oh my God, cup is the adharam, but where is the ghee? This is called the tarka, understand? Anyway, this is tarka. So, well, I wanted to say something about tarka, and then all other three fellows came. Anyway, so all the four met each other, and then they had a cold, hungry night. That's all there. Hey, nothing else they could do about it. This is called tarka. This is called kevala tarka. It only just makes your head spin and creates problems, makes you go hungry. But what I say, that a reasoning, what we require is proper reasoning. Fallacy in your reasoning should not be there. And therefore, we use lot of reasoning in order to find out the fallacies in our thinking, which is responsible for all our doubts and sometimes even not understanding. And therefore, so in order to knock off all the notions and prejudices and possible doubts, etc., we require reasoning. But therefore, what is illogical we cannot accept. What is above logic we can accept. In belief you can accept. But here it is neither. We are not by anumana pramanam. I told you inference is a means of knowledge. By inference we don't arrive at Atma, because Atma is already self-evident. And therefore that self-evident Atma, which doesn't require any means of knowledge, if it has to be known, what is its nature? You don't have a means of knowledge except Shruti. And therefore more about the Atma, not more about the Atma, the truth of the Atma. What exactly is the Swarupa of the Atma, for which I have no clue, I have no means of knowledge. That is what is called Shabdam. And what is revealed by Shabdam cannot be contradicted by any means of knowledge. And therefore it stays as knowledge. It is knowledge. And therefore, so this elimination of all notions alone is, and knowing exactly what it is, recognizing what it is, this is what is called Atma Jnanam. And that is what he said, Bhaja Govindam, and for which grammar is useful, it's a tool. Reasoning is a tool. Anything is a tool. Shraddha, Bhakti, everything is a tool. Even marriage is a tool. If by marriage, if your antakarana is a yoga, Marriage also is karma yoga. Grihasthashrama is a yoga, it is. And therefore, by that, if your antakarana can gain certain maturity, better get married. And thereby, so you gain that antakarana maturity. That is what is said. That is what is said by the Shastra. Everything is useful, nothing is useless. Any one thing that suits you, even somebody can fix up the mind by music, somebody can fix up the mind by painting, somebody can fix up the mind by something else. There are many ways of fixing up the mind, but there are not many ways of knowing any given fact. Any given fact you have to know only by the adequate, appropriate means of knowledge. You have no choice whatsoever. But there are many ways of fixing up your mind. There are many ways of praying. There are many ways of what you call meditating. There are many ways of fixing up the mind, means quietening the mind, etc. So bringing about composure through painting, through art, etc., fine art, performing art, you can accomplish the same end. And therefore, understand that it is not only one way for fixing up the mind. Don't get confused. Therefore, there are many paths to the goal. They will give an example also. If there is a temple on the top of a hill, you can go. So this way you can go, that way you can go. Walking you can go, rolling you can go. And then you can come by a helicopter also. There are 100 different ways. By car you can go. So like this, they tell this, by a winch or whatever you can go. By 100 different ways you can go. That is true, sir. That is an example. An example doesn't replace logic. Understand? I can give another example and you are finished. And I say, you can come by any means, sir, but to enter into the shrine you require to go through the same door. One more example. So he is finished here. So this example doesn't replace reasoning. So you can't give an example and tell me. A lot of people fall for this nonsense. This kind of examples they just fall for. They think that, oh, it's wonderful, Swami is greatest. What is said must be reasonable. Then an example will be a part of that reasoning itself, if it is reasonable. And therefore, knowledge is always like that. Any knowledge. If you want to see the color of the Swami's cloth, how many means of knowledge you have got? Only one. Unfortunately, only one. And even if that one, if it is color blind, you can't see it. There is only one, and it should be adequately prepared, ready, and it must be capable. Then only you can see. Otherwise, you cannot see. There is only one, and that's how it is. Knowledge is like that. If you want to see the color, you have to see. You have to use your eyes. And one fellow says, Swamiji, that makes me a fanatic. They again don't understand what is fanaticism. It's another problem. I have to start all over now. So what is fanaticism? He doesn't understand. He says it makes you a fanatic. All right, you be universal. You be universal. Therefore, what do you do? So universal. All right, you nose around to find out the color. Close your eyes. It's all silly. That's not fanaticism. Is when there are many options. I tell you what is fanaticism very clearly. When there are many options, to say this alone is the only way, then that is called fanaticism. When you are not sure and you talk as though it is sure, that is called blind fanaticism. That is blind fanaticism. Like even what? Now I tell you. So that there is a heaven. What is that? You tell me. That there is a heaven. How do you prove it? There is no proof. Therefore, there is a heaven is what? Belief. The belief. It is a non-verifiable belief. There is a heaven, non-verifiable belief. Okay? Then, if you follow me, you will go to heaven. That is what? Non-verifiable belief. Blind belief. It is a blind belief. If you follow me, I will take you. And you look at the fellow. I think I can follow him. What is the basis? I think I can follow him. He's a tall guy. What is the basis to follow him after death? To follow this fellow. So there is nothing to really believe this fellow. But still you believe. So you believe that by following this fellow I will go to heaven, another belief. And having gone to heaven, I will like it. That is what? Another belief. And also another belief. What is a belief? Did you ever think about it? A belief is a judgment before knowledge. A belief is a judgment before knowledge. Therefore what? Therefore, it is subject to correction on verification. Okay? Understand now? This much logic you must be having. It is subject to correction on verification. Suppose somebody tells you so and so is a good man. Good man is another nonsense word. Why? Because what is goodness? For this fellow, good man means whenever you ask money, he should give. He is good man. And therefore he goes and asks him, whenever he was in trouble, he went and asked him because he is a good man. Therefore he asked him, can you give me some money? Can I borrow some money from you? And he said, no. Then this fellow says, he is not a good man. He is a bad man. Now what I say, good man, bad man, each one has got his own concept. And according to that he understands. He is a good man. You don't know the person. So when you don't know the person, how can you say he is a good man or a bad man? It's only judgment. Because you believe in the judgment of the other, and that man says he's a good man, and in common with him you say he's a good man, and afterwards you find if this man is good, there is nobody bad in the world. You discover later. Okay? You discover later, if this fellow is good, then who is bad I don't understand at all. This is what you discover later. And therefore what I say, so this good man is all a belief, subject to correction on verification. Subject to correction. Either you have to modify it, you have to amend it, or you have to completely replace it with another conclusion. Therefore, a belief being a judgment before knowledge is subject to correction on verification. A Jehovah's Witness, a Christian missionary, a Catholic or a Protestant or anybody, and he is a Pentecostal fellow or a Seventh-day Adventist or anyone, any variety. So suppose, so he comes and tells you, you follow me, you will go to heaven. That's all their religion anyway. You have to go to heaven. So you follow me, you will go to heaven. I am not criticizing prayer aspect of it. Any form of prayer, whether it is a Christian prayer or any prayer is okay. But the theology is, you follow, what is the goal of all these prayers? What is the goal? You will go to heaven. And so he says, you follow me, you will go to heaven. That is the main thing. Then the other fellow, the prophet came and said that I am the mouthpiece of God. Understand? I am the mouthpiece of God. God speaks to me, and he had talked to him in dreams, and he has recorded all those dreams in the book called the Quran. And each verse, a couplet or whatever that is there, is called a surah. It's called surahs. And all of them were revealed by Allah in the dream. He revealed to him. According to him, he revealed. So Allah revealed everything to me, and therefore this is what he believed, or that's what he said. We don't know whether he believed it or he said it so, we don't know. But let us accept benefit of doubt given to him. He felt that it was given to him by Allah. Okay? This is what it is. Then the people also believe. He said, I am the prophet. I am the latest, he said. I am the latest. He accepted Jesus Christ. But then he said, I am the latest. And also he said, I am the last. Because tomorrow you may pop up and say the same thing. And therefore he said, I am the latest and the last. The prophet, I am the last. So since he said, I am the latest and the last, now whom should I follow? You tell me now. Now that fellow says, look at this. He also has a belief that you will go to heaven. Now, so he also believes. The belief is subject to what? Correction on verification. Therefore, now, does this believer, the one who believes, does he have any basis to convert another person, tell me. I may be wrong. I have no idea. My belief may be wrong. When I am not sure whether my belief is right, being a belief, when I am not quite sure about its veracity, about its truthfulness, then how can I ever convert anybody? Unless I am what? A blind, non-thinking person who is called fanatic. Understand now fanaticism? Did you ever see a professor of physics knocking at your door and then asking for your time so that he can talk to you about particles? Never. Why? He is a teacher. He is not unsure about what he knows. He doesn't say that he has got the last word either. That's why he is not a fanatic. He is a teacher. He knows what he knows. You have to go and ask him. Or you should join the ranks and attend his class. Because he is a teacher. But every preacher is what? A fanatic. Every preacher is a fanatic. Because he himself is not sure. And the best way of fighting your own, the wobbling faith. So to make it steady is to collect a few more people and hold on to them. That is the security. And so, understand what is fanaticism. That is called fanaticism. When there are many options there, or when there is a possibility of your belief may be wrong, still you push the belief to another person. That is called fanaticism. That's nonsense. But 1 plus 1, 2 is not fanaticism. It's always 2. Why not 3? Let us be liberal. The eyes alone see color is not fanaticism. And therefore there is only one way here. If it is knowing liberation, you have to know. That's it. You have to know. And any statement, as I told you again, I repeat, any statement anywhere in any culture which says you are the whole, that is called Vedanta. Understand? Understanding that statement alone is understanding of yourself, understanding Vedanta. The only advantage we have is we have a methodology of unfolding the fact, which is the tradition Sampradaya. That is all the Sampradaya is about. But that statement everywhere I find. In every culture you will find that statement, and that is what is called Vedanta. Tattvamasi is Vedanta. That statement all over the world. In all cultures you find them. That's Vedanta. Only one sentence. It's an equation. Any equation will always be one sentence. It will not be one million sentences. It's only one sentence. And that's an equation. You are predicated to the whole. That predication is what is called equation. That predication is I find is everywhere in all cultures. Aldous Huxley wrote a book, Perennial Philosophy. And Aldous Huxley also had his own problem. He was the one who started this drug culture. He wrote about this mescaline and all that. And then from there came the refined form of LSD. And Alan Watts talked about the Joyce cosmology, etc. So these are all drug gurus. And because Aldous Huxley, because India is responsible for this drug culture, indirectly. Do you know why? Because the Aldous Huxley thought that Samadhi is the answer to all the problems. He thought Samadhi is resolving your thought. It's an experience. And the whole Vedanta is presented by people only as Samadhi experience. And therefore he thought the Samadhi experience can be got by mescaline. Americans are practical. They don't wait for your Samadhi to come. they will induce samadhi. Even if they go to hell, they will air condition the whole place and nicely enjoy the whole thing. That's what I like about them. They won't sit and complain all the time. Oof, 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 oof. That's an Indian approach. And therefore, what I say is that samadhi, then we are responsible for it. Because the so-called Vedantic scholars who went abroad and they talked about these English books are responsible for this drug culture. He was the first. He talked about masculine because masculine is a drug, it's a leaf or something, whatever, and that would induce this experience. Then they refined the whole thing that LSD came. And Alan Watts, that fellow was some kind of Vedantin he was. And whenever he was sober, he was a Vedantin. And that guy, so this guy, he wrote a book, this Joyous Cosmology, after taking LSD. All from India only. It's called Bhang Vedanta. Anyway, and therefore, so this is going to end in an experience like this. There is only one way. That statement is everywhere. Understand? Aldous Huxley wrote the book Perennial Philosophy. You will read in that book. He has quoted from every culture the same statement. Hundreds, book page after page, everywhere he has quoted. So that's a good contribution. He had collected all of them. Very beautiful. But there is no methodology. There is no way of teaching. They are only statements. We don't know what those fellows meant anyway. Because there is no methodology of teaching. There is no unfolding. Because what they meant we don't know. Anybody can interpret anything. Therefore, so that's what it is. There is no other method in these things. If you are already the solution, how many methods you have got? How many methods you have got except knowing I am not a problem? You know? If you are already the solution, if you are the problem, because you don't know what you are, how many solutions you have got except knowing? And to know you require a means of knowledge. There is no option in this. You have to know this. Therefore, Bhaja Govindam. Dukkha Karane will not save you, nor anything else will save you. Karma will not save you. Nothing will save you. Na karmana na prajaya. Chittasya shuddhaye karma natu vastupalabdaye. Vastu siddhir vicharena nakinchit karma kotibihi. Idevare eppadi solla mudiyum? He says, Chittasya shuddhaye karma natu vastupalabdaye. All forms of prayer, etc., that we do are important to keep our mind ready. And it is so important that the mind is ready. So, Chittasya Shuddhaye, for Chitta Shuddhi, for the preparedness of the mind, you require varieties of things. And prayer is very important in that. Chittasya Shuddhaye karma, but natu vastu upalabdaye. Vastu upalabdi means knowledge of what is truth. Atma vastu. Upalabdaye, for the knowledge of the vastu. Chitta Shuddhi karma is of no use. Then what is useful then? Vastu siddhihi vicharena. Vastu siddhi means accomplishment of vastu is purely by, because already it is there. You don't require to produce. Vastu siddhihi vicharena, by pramana vichara. It's not that who am I, go on asking questions. Somebody said this also. You go on, give up everything and ask question, who am I? Who am I? You go on asking question, who am I? What will be the answer? What will be the answer? Who am I? 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 Even asking the question, you will feel idiotic. Now how long you can ask the question, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Every time you come up with the same thing. Idiot, idiot, idiot. Same answer. You don't proceed at all. Who am I? This is another daridriyam. This is another problem it is in thinking. Daridriyam in thinking it is. This is who am I? Simple asking who am I, you won't get an answer. How will I answer? How will I ever know? Atma will not reveal. Who am I asking? Atma is not going to say, come on. I will tell you. I am really satisfied with your tapas. You have been asking this question so many times. So at least now I should answer. I tested you all this time. You asked me first time, I thought that you were not serious. Second time, I thought you were not serious. You asked me so many 1,000 times. Therefore, now I am telling you, I am Satchidananda. Will it tell? I am reminded of one thing. You know, in the south of near Nagarkoil, you know, as you go down near Cape Comorin, Nagarkoil, there are a lot of fishermen and that families are, and they speak little Malayalam and little Tamil. Is all. One child died. Okay, this woman is crying because her son died. Not child, her son died, and she's crying. Do you know what she's crying? She's crying. Ayo, payyan sattalla pone. Payyan means son. Sattalla pone. Is dead already. My son is dead already. Crying. Payyan sattalla pone. Payyan puttiyallo pitti. My son's intellect, his buddhi, his intellect, oh, that is the real intellect. His buddhi is buddhi. Payam pittiyallo pitti. Settalla pone. Achanannu solvan. He will call his father. Payyanukku 16 vayadhu. My son is only 16 years old. My son is only 16 years old. Do you know what all he would do? Pittiyallo pitti. Settalla pone. What he would say? Achananne solvan. He will call his father. Ammaya ammayanne solvan. He will call his mother. And the uril irukra meena thundilla kaampan. And the fish that is there hanging, in the sling, and he will point out, I want that, because he can't say fish. That's the problem. But Payyan pittiyallo pitti. Payyanukku 16 vayadhu. The son is only 16 years, but our buddhi is buddhi. Sattalla pone. You know, whenever I see this kind of the Purva Pakshas, the modern Vedanta, only this story I get reminded. Pittiyallo buddhi. Settalla pone. Vedanta is not for dull-witted people. I'm telling you plain. It's not for dull. It is not for sluggish. It's not meant for them. They all can. If they feel like that, then they should do something else. First they should become alert, and if they are sluggish, they should do something. They should do something and give up sluggishness. And this brain cells should be free from fat. It has got to be. It has to move. If it is slow moving, we can't do anything about it. It has to be. You have to be alert. Because it is adhikari. Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana. All these things are said. You can't circumvent those things. Therefore we have to. Why I am telling this? Because to be alert. You have to be alert. All that is necessary to keep yourself alert is very, very important. What you talk, what you do, what you say. The whole life style should be such that you are alert without being tense. Without being tense. In order to be alert, don't go about like this. And therefore, so without being tense, relaxed, you should be alert. That's it. Then Bhaja Govindam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Samprapte sannihite kale. Samprapte sannihite kale. Nahi nahi rakshati dukrin karane. Muda jahihi dhanagama trishnam. Kuru sadbuddhim manasi vitrishnam. Yallabhase nija karmopatam. Yallabhase nija karmopatam. Vittam tena vinodaya chittam. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Samprapte sannihite kale. Nahi nahi rakshati dukrin karane. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha. Sarve santu niramayaha. Asato ma Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.